Today, we're diving into something pretty amazing: how you can get a fully funded degree in Russia. We're going to lay out a clear, step-by-step roadmap for you to follow.
So you might be thinking, a fully funded degree in Russia? Is that for real? And the answer is a huge yes. It's an incredible opportunity that literally thousands of students take advantage of every single year.
The Russian government isn't just offering a few spots here and there. We're talking thousands of scholarships for international students covering all sorts of fields: medicine, engineering, you name it. And this right here, this is your playbook for getting one.
So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the opportunity itself. Then we'll get into prepping your documents, walking through the application, and then how to nail the selection stage. And finally, we'll get real about the pros and cons, so you know exactly what you're getting into.
Okay, let's get right into it. When you're aiming for a free education in Russia, there are really two main paths you can take. So you've basically got two doors to knock on. The first is the Open Door Scholarship, which is a really tough, exam-based global competition. But we're going to focus on the second door, the Russian Government Scholarship. This one is different. It's based on quotas for each country, and the selection is done through an interview. For a lot of people, this makes it a much more straightforward and, frankly, accessible option.
All right, let's move on to what is, honestly, the most important part of this whole thing: getting your documents perfectly lined up before you even think about applying. That is the absolute foundation for getting this scholarship.
Think of this as your application toolkit. And let me just say, pay very close attention to that passport rule. It absolutely must be valid for at least 18 months from when you apply. This isn't a suggestion, it's a hard rule that can get you kicked out of the process right at the start. And yeah, those recommendation letters are optional, but trust me, they can give you a serious leg up on the competition.
Now, your school certificates have to go on a little journey of their own. It's a mandatory 3-step process. You start with your local education board, then it goes to the Ministry of Education, and the final stamp of approval comes from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You can't skip a step, and you have to do them in this exact order. Okay, this might look like a joke, but I promise you it's probably the best piece of advice you're going to get. The Russian system is very methodical. Everything is a process, everything is step by step. You can't rush it. Sending 100 emails isn't going to make it go faster. You apply, and then you just have to wait. It can be a long wait, so you really have to be patient from the get-go.
All right, so once all your documents are prepped, stamped, and ready to go, it's time to actually tackle the application portal. Let's walk through what that looks like.
Here's a quick look at the whole year. The big window you want to circle on your calendar is for the government scholarship, which is usually open from October to January. You really don't want to miss this, because if you do, you're waiting a whole nother year. Okay, let's break down the application itself. First, you'll create an account, and hey, take that email tip seriously, it can save you a lot of headaches. You'll fill out the form, pick your top 6 universities, do your homework on them first, and upload all those documents you prepared. But here's the final step, and it's a big one that people miss. This is not just an online thing. You have to print out the final form and physically take it with your documents to your local Russian house. Don't forget that part. So, you've submitted everything. Now what? Well, this is where the real selection process kicks in. Think of it as a series of trials that filters all the applicants down to the final winners.
First up is trial number 1, the portfolio review. The officials are going to go through everything you submitted with a fine-tooth comb. They're looking at your grades, the quality of your documents, and all those extra things like recommendation letters or achievement awards.
Now, based on that review, they create a short list of the candidates who really stand out. If you make it this far, you'll get a call or an email inviting you to the final and most important trial.
For this government scholarship, this is the main event. It's not some written exam. It's a direct, face-to-face interview, usually at the Russian embassy or the cultural center. This is where they make the final call.
And this quote, it really just hits the nail on the head. They've already seen your grades on a piece of paper. The interview is about them seeing you. They want to see your confidence, your passion, and they want you to show them why you're a great investment.
To help you get ready, here are some of the questions that almost always come up. They're trying to get a feel for your real motivations, your long-term plans, and pay attention to that last one. They definitely want to see that you plan on taking what you learn and contributing back home. Okay, so you did it. You aced the interview, you got the scholarship offer. Amazing! But now, let's talk about the reality. What does this scholarship actually pay for? It's super important to know what's covered and what's not.
So, the huge pros are that your tuition is totally covered.
And so is your housing in a dormitory. That's fantastic, but it's not a complete free ride. You're still on the hook for your plane tickets, your visa and insurance fees, and all those document costs. And the big one is your day-to-day living expenses, like food. It's a good idea to budget about $2,000 just for getting set up when you first arrive.
Now, this is a big one. You need to know that your entire degree program will be taught in Russian. But before you panic, here's the deal. The scholarship includes a full, mandatory, one-year language course before you start your actual degree. So it's a challenge, for sure, but they give you the tools to succeed.
And if this whole thing starts to feel like a 1 in a million shot, just look at this number. For many countries, the annual quota is around 140 students. That's across bachelor's, master's, and PhDs. So this is a very real, very achievable opportunity for a good number of people.
So when you look at the whole picture, it might seem like a long process, but it's really just a clear path with logical steps. And that whole incredible journey begins with just one thing: taking the time to prepare your documents and submit a single, strong application.
We've laid out the entire map for you, from start to finish. We've shown you the path. So the only question left really is, are you ready to take that first step and start the journey? Thanks for tuning in.